Yo, what up, guys? All right, so we're back for another awesome kick-ass Roof Wars, and I have somebody with me that lives and operates and is a territory titan in, I would say, one of the most extreme conditions in the United States. Michael Black, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited for this
Yeah.
because you guys have either 14 foot of rain that's falling, you have extreme dry climates that you guys are dealing with right now. I would love to unpack what it's like working in a climate with this, with so much rain, so much dryness, and just the inconsistencies of it rains every day at 3 o'clock throughout the summer, right?
Yeah. It does. It's very call it bipolar because Florida just throws all kinds of weather situations at you, whether it's in the springtime, early winter, springtime, January, February. It could be 40 degrees in the morning and 80 degrees in the afternoon.
That
So the extreme temperature swings, and that goes on for months. And then this is our dry season, so there's not really much rain happening. And then we move into the wet season, and then it can be once a day, twice a day, three times a day, almost like clockwork. Morning, afternoon, and a late shower always in the afternoon. And then that goes into hurricane season. And once you get into hurricane season, that's when just everything's just up in the air and whatever. Anything goes at that point.
So the extreme temperature swings work throughout the United States, right? Tennessee was always one of my, I don't want to say nightmares, right? But it's like
Mhm.
super humid. And when you get a big enough roof, or let's just say a big TPO roof, and you have those cold nights and then you have the mornings, water flowing off of those roofs could be equivalent to it raining, right?
Oh, definitely. The amount of dew that's created from the humidity down here is just like an overnight with the humidity. The roof's saturated. It's always wet. You never get up in the morning and have a dry roof in the state of Florida. There's just always humidity and it's always going to be saturated. And like I said, in the winter months, January, February, it'll get cold enough where it won't snow, but it'll form ice. You get up on the roof and it'll be iced over. Then the ice melts and then it's water. And then by the afternoon, it's up in the 70s and 80s. And then that night, it just repeats the cycle. And it goes like that goes on for the first couple months of the year, which is really stressful for roofs too, especially if they're not in good condition.
That's extremely true. So is it safe to say being in the Gulf, that's naturally bringing not just moisture, but how does the salt water make a difference? Like, how does that affect what you guys do?
Absolutely. So we do not use any galvanized steel or anything along the coastline. In fact, we go as far as 20 miles in, we try to use nothing but aluminum because the salt in the air, because we're on both sides, we have the Gulf and we have the Atlantic. So what happens in Florida is what they call the sea breeze. You have moisture coming in from the Atlantic, moisture coming in from the Gulf, and all that moisture contains all that salt. And then when it meets in the middle, it pushes each other back out. So that's when the really severe storms happen is when you have east and west meet and then they go back out east and west. But 20 miles in, I've seen people who try to get away with steel and matter of a couple years, you can already see the steel deteriorating and the rust forming on it.
So I'm thinking of all the times as a kid and even as an adult, as you drive down, right? So I'm in Chicago and I can probably go through every state and tell you what the smell is, right? You get into Georgia, right? You start getting into your stagnant heat
Mhm.
of what it is. But when you get to Florida, you smell the ocean, right? You can just
Yep.
smell that side. So that makes a lot of sense. It's pushing from both sides. So as you're driving down 75 through Gainesville or Ocala and all that kind of different stuff, that's right where everything's kind of coming together, like you're saying, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Central Florida probably gets the most extreme storms. That's just because, like I said, you have a sea breeze coming in from both sides of the peninsula, and then they meet, and then they go back out, and that's when this severe weather happens, which is typically an afternoon. When we get into the rainy season, you'll get a shower just about every morning. May last 20 minutes, may last 30 minutes. It could be a light shower or a deluge of rain. And then typically around noon, again, either a light shower or deluge of rain, depends on where you're at in the state. And then just like clockwork, the drive time home between 5 and 8 o'clock at night, you get just the absolute thunder banger where it's just pouring down rain and lightning and thunder. And you got the wind gust and the downbursts that come down. And typically that's every day from May basically through August in Florida.
So it's again, it's safe to say that you guys have a water test that comes every day after the repairs that you make.
Yeah, one thing that you do down here and that we preach is no matter what, that roof is watertight when you leave it. You never think it's not going to rain. I've been in some parts of the United States where they just leave the roof wide open because they're not going to have any weather for the next few days. You never, that's the first rookie mistake you're ever making in Florida. It could be perfectly clear, no rain in the forecast. And if it's in the summertime, it'll rain. It'll come out of nowhere. It might just rain on top of that building, no place else. But it's safe to say that you always have to leave that roof 100% watertight. Even if you're going to take off for lunch for a couple hours or whatever, you got to come to a watertight stop before you can leave that job site.
So in Texas, we deal with extreme heat, right? Especially when we start getting up on top of metal roofs, different things like that. Now, I know you guys have a very similar heat side to it, which in Texas, like there's sometimes where we're changing up the work hours, right? We're working early morning until I'm just saying 11 or 12, and then we're not working from 12 to 4, and we're working at the backside, all kinds of different stuff to be able to make sure that our employees are safe. But on the second side of this, if it's going to rain at 3 o'clock, there is no second side. So, like, how does this affect your guys' production ability? Is it just a shorter time to get work? Is it a shorter work day, or what does that look like?
So our production crews, they're usually starting 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. They want to get into the job site early. They want to beat the heat and they also want to beat the rains because we want to get most of the tear off or whatever the majority of the work done before the morning time comes. And then they're off by noon. And so we typically run that as a typical schedule through the summer months, which in the winter months we can adjust back to a regular schedule. But with the heat, we're not as hot as Texas, but we have probably double the humidity, which I don't know what's worse sometimes, dry heat or humidity. They both can take a toll on you. So either way, afternoon is just miserable to be out on that roof. So yeah, we do adjust our crews to come in and work, start about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, try to get everything knocked out by noon.
So, is it a light setup then? Because the sun's not up at 3 or 4.
Well, we have generators, lights. Now we're fully equipped. As long as it's permitted in the air to have noise that early in the morning, we
Uh-huh.
have light towers and generators and lights. We can work fully. We've done many jobs throughout the night. We sometimes we work in shifts where we might start at 10 o'clock at night and have one shift go through and then have a second shift come in the morning. It all depends on the job schedule and the type of project we're doing, but we're set up to handle the for night work easily to avoid the everyday rains and the heat.
Okay. Now you can plead the fifth with this, but this is just where my head is at. Have you guys played around with any type of solar or anything like that where maybe you can't have generators going, right? But still being able to use the extreme sun that you guys get on a daily basis.
We haven't, to be honest with you, we haven't really ventured that way with solar. We usually pretty much set up with the generators or the house power on the buildings that we're on, but it's something that we're not opposed to. It's just we just haven't been down that road yet.
I'm always thinking, what if?
Yeah.
So not last year. Last year, no hurricanes, right?
No,
Year before.
first time in I think 8 years.
So the year before, that was the year you got hit twice, back to
Three
back.
times, actually three
Three
times.
times.
3 times in 100 days. Three storms in 100 days.
So that's insane. So the part, so I lived in Florida for a short time, and the part that I learned is that when I thought of hurricane, I thought strong winds, lots of rain. And although that's true, what I learned, and you can probably even educate me even further, is that like number one is tornadoes.
Yeah.
Like this isn't just strong winds. This is tornadoes that are being spun off of this thing constantly as it comes in. So it's not just a strong 70, 80, 90, 100 mile an hour wind that's coming in. We have tornadoes. And then the larger part of this is the surge.
Yes.
How big is that surge that's coming in? Because it pulls all of the water back. And as it comes in, it's ultimately a tsunami, if you will, to an extent that it's coming in and just brings everything in. How do you guys even start to prepare for that?
It's very unpredictable. So surge is probably the biggest issue, period. That's the biggest issue we face is surge because like you said, and I witnessed it where you could be standing in Tampa Bay and the water will just recede. And you can, as far as you can see for a mile, you just see the bottom of the bay. You see no water. It's
That's
the most weirdest thing ever. But knowing that water's coming back in. So within an hour, Then that water comes in. When it comes in, it comes with the storm surge. And the storm surge is what really causes the majority of the damage. It wipes everything out. The 80, 90-mile-an-hour winds sustained do cause damage. Your sheet metal is going to blow up. But in my experience, most of the roof blow-offs have been from the downburst tornadoes. Anytime that we were called to blow off or something after getting the data from the National Weather Service, we seen where there was a tornado or a downburst in that area. So it wasn't the sustained wind that actually did it. It was that downburst or that 150-mile-an-hour tornado that hits real quick and then jumps back up. That's actually what I've seen in my experience causes the most roof blow-offs that there is.
So what's the difference between a tornado and a downburst? Is that like a microburst
Yeah, it's
or?
like a microburst. So the afternoon storms that I was referencing, they have a ton of microbursts, and that's where it could be one selected area, and it's just all the energy comes. It's not categorized as a tornado, but all the energy comes down, and you could go from 15-mile-an-hour winds to 65-mile-an-hour winds like that, and then it just disappears. And we call them downbursts because that's what they do. They come down, hit, then they go right back up and disappear, and they skip around. So those are probably what causes the most damage from the afternoon thunderstorms in Florida. And again, with the hurricanes, the outer bands are filled with those tornadoes and those downbursts that just constantly are happening, just hammering everything.
So you had 3 storms that hit within 100 days. I'm going to make the assumption that there is some type of hurricane preparedness plan that you guys have in place with your customers to be able to make sure that they're set up. But this was very different than that. It just wasn't one storm that hit. This was one storm that hit, respond, one storm that hit, respond, one storm that hit, respond. And on top of that, it knocks out power. It knocks out no cell phones, right?
Yeah.
Is it? And then I just remember I was in Harvey inside Houston, and there were people who were stranded and stuck just because of the debris, the roads that were closed down.
So we're used to 2 hurricanes in a year, but usually they're spaced out about 2 months. Usually you get an early hurricane, you get a late season hurricane. We're used to that. In 2024, we got a storm in September, a storm, and then 30 days later, another storm, and 30 days later, another storm. So we had 3 named storms all hit the west coast of Florida within 30 days. And it was like, where do you start? Because the first storm is nothing but chaos. I think that we probably got 1,000 T&M leak phone calls out of the first day. So the phones are jammed up. Everybody's, hey, it's rain. I got water coming in. And the hard thing is that, is it a legitimate roof leak or was it blowing rain that's getting into a unit, a wall or something? So you have to decide all that. But we do have an emergency plan. That's basically first responders. Our one and only mission is first responders. We got to get the fire department up, the hospitals up. We got to get them going. We got to get the grocery stores going, and we got to get the Home Depots and the Lowe's up. Because without those stores operating, nobody else can do anything. So we try to target those first. Those customers of ours, we hit them first. And then we go to our clients that are on our what we call security preventive maintenance programs. Then we go service them clients and so forth. And that's good through one hurricane. But then 30 days later, when you get that second one, it's here you go again. You start all over. You get another influx of leak calls, and now it's not your customers calling you; it's other customers calling you because every roofer in the state's panicking right now, and everybody's screaming. All they want you to do is show up and see what you can do for their building. So you deal with that chaos, and 30 days later, the next storm comes. And these are all strong storms. And now it's pretty devastating. In my career, it's the first time I've ever not been able to tell a client when I could respond. With the amount of crews I have and the coverage I have in the state, I can always tell a client I can be there in 2 days. I can be there in 3 days. I can be there in a week. I didn't know what to tell people at that point because I had no idea what I was going to do next. At that point, it's just trying to organize, group stuff together, and attack stuff regionally. Go hit one city and try to get everything done at a time, and go to a county and do something like that. It was just pure chaos. And the backlog from them storms bled way over into 2025. We were still doing storm damage in April of 2025. So it was pretty chaotic. And that's the first time, like I said, we're used to a couple hurricanes a year. Usually one hits one side of the state, one hits the other side of the state. But this just decimated the West Coast. 3 direct hits on the West Coast in 100 days.
So you had 1,000 work orders that came in on day one.
Yes.
First off, You think about like most contractors, right? Let's just say they have a few trucks, something like that. Think about how many work orders you can run in a day, right? Divide that
Yeah.
by 1,000. On top of that, when they hit where the roads clear within 30 days,
The beach areas took weeks and months to get into. Usually after the storm, you probably got 2 to 3 days where you have restricted access, but state of Florida is pretty damn good with the storm response. And so you can usually get into areas within 2 to 3 days. But the beach areas, the island
bulldozers
areas,
down the road.
yeah, they'll clear the road. They'll go clear. There was trees piled up. There was trees piled up 20 feet high on each side of the road from them just clearing the trees off the road and stacking them on the side of the road. So they're pretty good at that. So you pretty much get access within a couple of days afterwards, except if you live on the outer banks or the beaches. Sometimes those takes a month to get out there. They literally had to rebuild a couple bridges in order to get access out there. Only access was through boat. And we even had a couple clients down on Sanibel where we actually got a boat, went out, took care of our client's roof. We're using a boat to get back and forth to get to the island. We were just trying to do what we could for our client to get out there.
So post immediate storm, 1,000 work orders, I can only make the assumption that there was a massive amount of stress that you guys had before the storm, right?
Yeah.
What, 5 days before? How far in advance do you guys truly, okay, this is real?
Probably the 4 days, probably within 4 days, because the storm can switch paths and it'll show you the cone of uncertainty or whatever. But I start really honing in on 3 to 4 days because where it's tracking, and it still has a possibility of shifting, but 3 to 4 days we're downloading materials in the strike zone. We're making sure everything's secure. We're doing preventive maintenance for our clients to make sure the drains are cleared and all the debris are cleared. In fact, I got a pretty neat story that happened. The very first hurricane, I had a property. It was about 5 o'clock on a Friday, and I leave work and I'm driving home, and I get a call from a property manager, and she said to me, she goes, "You're probably going to say no, but I have a problem. I got 20 properties from Weeki Wachee to Naples, Florida, 20 shopping centers." She goes, "I never did my preventive maintenance inspections this year, and they're all in the storm path, and I have to get them inspected, the debris cleared, and invoiced before Monday morning when the storm hits. Otherwise, I'm going to be in trouble because
Trying
in
to say where,
Florida, if you don't have documentation before the storm and you have a claim, you're going to have some issues with the insurance company." So she goes to me, "I know you can't do all 20, but just tell me how many you can do, and I'll call another roofer." That kind of made me twitch when she said she's going to call another
yeah,
roofer. So I was like, "I'll do all 20." Pretty bold. So I
yeah,
got off the phone with her and I called my team up, and I was like, from that movie, The Hangover, like, I may have messed up, but this is what we got in front of us. So we were able to mobilize, and that Saturday got the crews. Now we already sent the crews home to get their houses secure and all that other stuff. So we had to find the manpower to come back in. So we called everybody up, and that Saturday we were on all 20 shopping centers from Weeki Wachee to Naples, Florida. We did roof inspections, documented everything, cleaned all the gutters, cleaned all the debris. And then that Sunday, we were able to invoice everything and get her all her invoices, documentation by 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. So when the storm hit on Monday, she had all her inspections done, all the debris were cleared, and everything was done. And it was
that's
quite a feat,
when
but
you
that was probably
deliver
one of
like
the most
20
stressful
years.
couple of days. Yeah, one of the most stressful couple of days. But again, that's what bad property management for not thinking ahead and getting it done before hurricane season, but also knowing that she could count on us to get that knocked out for it was a pretty good feat, I thought, from our side of it.
Yeah, I'm thinking through it, right? Like you saved potentially her job, millions and millions of dollars, depending on what happened to the
Yeah.
site. I'm just thinking that's when you say, okay, I did one for you. Now you sign the next 20 years for me. Here you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, no, it turned into a pretty good relationship. But yeah, it's just stuff like that's happened. People, you have stuff that people don't realize that a storm causes so much, especially after the fact, that if you have clogged gutters and you have debris on your roof, that could really cause a lot of damage to that roof system and that building. So people, preventive maintenance is something we like to push a lot, especially before the storm season. Right now that it's dry, I nickname it, I don't call it the dry season, this is our inspection season. This is where we want to do all the inspections because it's not raining. We want to get on the roof. We want to document everything. We want to give everybody the information about their building and their roofs before the storms actually hit. And that goes a long ways now with the insurance companies if you're going to make any kind of claims, or if you're trying to sell a building or whatever you're trying to do, having documentation on the condition of your roof and everything that's going on with it is just invaluable to some of these brokers and these insurance people.
It's crazy when you compare what you deal with on a daily basis, right? And we talk about the temperature changes, the excessive dew, the salt coming
Yeah.
in, the difference between the galvanized and aluminum. And on top of that, we look at how hard it is to even get a license in Florida. All of this makes complete sense. And we go back to Texas, we got a pickup truck. You're a roofer. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's awesome, dude. It's awesome to be able to have you to be able to talk about these stories. It's awesome to be able to hear about like 1,000 work orders the first day after. Like, how do you respond to that? And it's really cool because it makes a lot of sense. When I went through the Moore, Norman, Oklahoma tornadoes, like 2012, Red Cross was using Walgreens. And that was one of the first things that we did is we got the Walgreens back on track.
Yeah.
When it was, I think it was Harvey down inside Houston, I made the mistake and I had trucks that were positioned too close. Because if you remember, it came in and just sat over Houston for like
Yep.
days spinning. So they ended up getting stranded. But what we learned throughout the whole thing is that Chick-fil-A specifically has a protocol that if they can get power, they cook all food. Whatever is there, they do not let it go bad. They cook all food, and all food goes to first responders and anything else like that. So it's cool because we got to be a part of that, right? One, get the roof dry so they can cook. Anybody who can get to the thing safely, get there, cook food, and it becomes ultimately a food shed, if you will, for all of that. So it's really cool to be able to one, hear the stories from the roofing side, but then two, like even think about like you are part of the reason that we can get lumber and we can get the hospitals and everything else actually moving. I think a lot of times those are oversight from
Yeah.
truly what you guys are supplying to the community and to the state.
Yeah, and
So
we're honest with our clients, even our clients that pay for our secure roof system, our preventive maintenance system. We let them know that in the event of any kind of disaster, weather, that we are going to take care of the first responders first, and then we'll get to your building. Even though you're a paying customer for our services, we let them understand ahead of time. Hey, because I had one time where we were actually across the street, and they're like, "Hey, you guys are across the street. Come over to my building next." I'm like, "I can't. I got to go take care of this Lowe's, or I got to go do this first." And they just didn't understand. I had to explain to them, I said, "Listen, I can't buy the material to fix your roof if I can't go to the Lowe's or do whatever to help you out. I got to take care of the first. You got to get food up, grocery stores, the hardware stores, the hospitals, and the police stations. Those come first." And so they understand, but it's kind of just let your customers know this is how you operate. And it's a respect level too. They respect you once they understand why you're doing it.
I love that. I love that. I love that. It feeds into the community, feeds into the purpose. And I've watched your guys' marketing material, the stuff that you guys put. If you haven't followed Sutter Roofing on what they do on just social media and like all of the stuff, I love what you guys do.
Thank
So
you.
I truly appreciate you being a part of this, Matt, as well as just sharing some of the stories that you have and letting us into a glimpse of what it's like to live in Florida every single day and to be able to battle what you guys had. So my last question, this is just an open question for me. Do hurricanes make or break your guys' year as far as revenue projections? Or do you plan for no hurricanes? And then if something comes up, it's all hands on deck. Let's help the community.
Personally, we plan for no hurricanes. I personally can't stand hurricanes. You'll never hear me say, "God, we need a hurricane," because we're not having a good year if we could just get one hurricane. I'll never say that. Hurricanes are destructive. They mess up your whole year. Any project you have in the works gets put on the back burner because you got all these emergencies coming in. Now, on the flip side, they do generate revenue. It's a revenue generator. You're fixing leaks, you're fixing repairs, you're re-roofing, you're doing all that. So it is a huge revenue generator, but we don't look at it that way. I'd rather not have no hurricanes. We did just fine last year. In fact, last year we had one of our record years with no hurricanes. So we're not storm chasers. We don't, if it happens, we're going to be there to handle it. But I personally could go a long time without another hurricane.
Understood. And I think it goes back, and you said it within this, it's inspection season right now,
Yeah.
right? We know we have rainy season coming, different things like that. And I love the mindset on that of it's inspection season right now. Let's get the preventative maintenance done. Let's get the buildings prepared. Let's get everyone set up with what's happening. And I love that mindset, man. It's definitely glass half full kind of mindset.
Yeah, it's almost, I always say we're not really roofing contractors anymore. We sell data. Every one of us sells data. And you got to keep your clients informed because that's what they need. They need that information. They need to know what's going on with their roof so they can plan to how they're going to fix it or how they're going to budget for it or whatever. So the most important thing is just let my customers know, hey, I'm going to tell you exactly everything you have on your roof. You tell me what you want to spend and what you want me to fix. That's kind of how we look at things.
There you go. Trusted advisor side, man. I love
Yep.
it. I love it. I love it. All right, cool. Anything you want to close out on? Anything else you want to add?
No, not yet. I just, Florida is as rough as it sounds. It is a great state to work in. You can't beat the weather.
That's true. That's true. As I sit up here in Chicago with rainy all day and 45 degrees. So I feel it. But cool. Thank you guys very much. Like, I can't thank you enough for being on and just sharing some of the background that you have. Love to be able to have you back, especially as we keep going deeper and deeper into what it's like to be a territory titan and a top roofer inside the US. You're one of them, man. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, guys. See ya.